Hey everybody, this is Tracy here with another edition of A View from Tracy's Point. And yes, you guys get a third video, well actually 2.5, because the other video I posted earlier today, I actually posted last night, but I had to delete it and do some editing on it and put it back up. And I just posted a video talking about NeNe Leakes' interview on the Tamron Hall show. And so this video that I am about to do now is a video that I had planned to do a few weeks ago. And this is, where is our second stimulus check? Okay, like I am about sick of these politicians out here aggravating us to death about voting, but don't want to give us no extra money. Y'all know this COVID-19 got the world messed up, turned upside down. But the one thing that we were able to depend on was the first CARES Act that the government, passed earlier this year. That included the $1,200 stimulus payment to individuals, $2,400 to married couples, and then for dependents under the age of 17. There was an additional $500, and then there was the federal unemployment that was included. That included $600 a week for people that were getting unemployment, who lost their jobs due to COVID. And then it was a lifeline for people who are self-employed, gig workers like Uber and Lyft drivers, and that type of thing. They were able to get this federal unemployment even though they didn't qualify for their state unemployment. And so that put a lot of money into the economy. But what they found out is that people weren't spending the money. A lot of people were like paying off their credit card bills. They were saving the money, paying their rent, but they weren't actually going out to stores and shopping and spending money that way. And a lot of people were saving the money, stockpiling the money, because they don't know how long this COVID is going to last. And so the unemployment piece of it ran out on July 25th. Congress and the Senate going back and forth, arguing over what the Democrat-led Congress, Senate, House, House is the one with the 400 and something people. So with Nancy Pelosi, she's the head. And so they put forth this new bill called the HEROES Act. And basically the HEROES Act was like $3.4 trillion. It included so much stuff that had nothing to do with COVID. Things like $25 billion promised to the post office, money for hospitals, which did help COVID, but then they were doing a lot of stuff with small businesses and giving money to governments, to cities and states to deal with the protests that were taken off, for policing. It was just a whole bunch of stuff. They were going to give $50,000 credits to people with student loans. So take $50,000 off the balance of your student loan. And the Republican-led Senate was like, no, y'all not doing all that. And so they produced a bill that was like $1 trillion. So, that's a lot of money. You're talking about $2.4 trillion difference that they were telling the Democrats that they needed to come down on. And of course the Democrats are like, no, we need to help the American people. Oh, also included was the eviction, the law, the act that said that people couldn't be evicted, if they lost their jobs due to COVID. And that actually expired on September 30th. So now people are starting to get evicted from their homes, evicted from their apartments. They gave money to mortgage companies to do forbearances for people who weren't able to afford their mortgages. And so there was a whole lot in these bills that were going to help the American people, but there was even more in the bills that were going to help businesses. So they've been bickering and arguing. The Senate came up and said that they wanted to give the $1,200 and the $2,400 to families, but then they wanted to give extra money to dependents. They were going to give money because one of the things that impacted me with the stimulus payment is that I have an adult daughter that has autism, and she is a dependent on my taxes, but she didn't qualify for a stimulus payment. And so with the second round of checks, they wanted to include anybody who was a dependent, college students who were claimed as dependents on their parents' taxes. They didn't get the $500. And so all of that was going to change in the second stimulus packet, but the Senate and the House couldn't come together and agree. I think at one point, Nancy Pelosi and the House reduced their budget to, or their plan to $2.4 trillion, and I think that's where they are right now. I haven't looked it over to see what all they scrapped. I know the last time they were negotiating, they had said instead of $25 billion to the post office, over 3 years, we'll do $10 billion over 2 years, because the post office is in trouble. And so I'll need to go back and look and see what all is in this bill. But whatever was in the bill, they ended up going on their break before Labor Day, and they didn't come to an agreement, so now the unemployment has run out, no stimulus payment. People are still unemployed, even though the unemployment rate has dropped. It's still high at like 8.4%. So a whole lot is going on. Well, they came up this week, and Nancy Pelosi, once again, they worked on their bill. They cut a lot of stuff out the bill. I'm sure the biggest part that they cut out was the $50,000 they was going to give us for them student loans. That's probably not in there anymore. I'll have to check and see. But they were hopeful that before they broke again, because they're getting ready to go on another break, that they were going to come to an agreement so that they could get money into the hands of the American people and they can restart the federal unemployment. But then that didn't happen. And so here is the latest. People thought that once Donald Trump was diagnosed with COVID, and y'all, that's a story within itself, because they didn't have that nomination for the Supreme Court Justice woman, the Amy Coney Barrett. They had her nomination ceremony in the Rose Garden. These people were out there not with their mask on. There's about 200-300 people out there. Nobody had a mask on. The lady got 7 kids. None of her kids had masks on. The husband didn't have a mask on. And then all of a sudden, people started popping up saying that they have tested positive for COVID. And the last time I looked, so we know President Trump has it. Melania has it. Hope Hicks, who's a spokesperson, I think, for the White House. Kellyanne Conway, she's the little skinny lady with the blonde hair. The president of Notre Dame University, he was there. He's contracted it. Several correspondents who were covering the event have tested positive. Chris Christie, the former governor of New Jersey, he tested positive today. There are a couple of senators, a guy named Mike something, but anyway, like 2 or 3 senators. So these numbers continue to grow. Trump has now gone over to Walter Reed Hospital, to get his care. And there's a big debate about whether or not Donald Trump really has COVID, if this is a plot, to take the focus off of Joe Biden and the election, because he's going to have to quarantine, and that'll be right up until the next debate is supposed to take place. And so it's just a mess. But anyway, here's an article from CNBC. It says President Donald Trump pressured Congress to pass a coronavirus stimulus plan Saturday as his administration and congressional Democrats struggle to forge a relief deal. In a tweet sent as the president receives treatment for COVID-19 at Walter Reed Medical Center, the president wrote in all caps, "Our great USA wants and needs a stimulus." Okay, so work together and get it done. Thank you very much. Piece of Trump. Okay, so Trump's tweet plunges him more fully into the tug of war over pandemic aid than he has been throughout weeks of talks between his advisors and Democratic leaders. Republicans and Democrats have failed to inject new money into the U.S. economy and healthcare system for months as the GOP worries about runaway spending and Democrats push for a sweeping relief package. An unexpectedly weak September jobs report, along with tens of thousands of newly announced layoffs and furloughs this week, have added to concerns that boosts from previous rounds of stimulus is fading. Sustained pressure from the president could make some Republicans, particularly in the GOP-held Senate, more comfortable embracing a stimulus deal. On Friday, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said Trump's diagnosis kind of changes the dynamic of her talks with Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin because Republicans will see, quote, "This is a vicious virus." And you know, and a lot of people are thinking that in a month or so we are going to go on another shutdown, like countrywide shutdown. And I got a feeling that if Trump is up to something, that shutdown is going to take place right before the election. So writing to her caucus on Friday, the California Democrat wrote that she hoped the sides could strike a deal despite significant differences in key areas. She added that we continue to work on the text to move quickly to facilitate an agreement. Democrats passed a $2.2 trillion relief package on Thursday night, while the White House has offered a $1.6 trillion bill. The sides have found common ground on policies including direct payments to Americans, small business loans, and aids to airlines to help cover payroll and prevent tens of thousands of furloughs. And let me tell you this about these airlines. I went to California. I got back a week ago, and I went the week before. So I had 2 flights there, 2 flights back. Every last flight was sold out, and I'm talking about every seat on the plane, unlike Southwest, that say that they will continue to not sell the middle seat. We were scrunched up on American Airlines like this. The airports were packed. So I don't know why these airlines claim that they got to lay off all these people when they selling out flights. And I know some people were saying, well, they cut the number of flights. That's why so many people on the planes. Well, I'm here to tell you that I stood by the window watching plane after plane after plane after plane take off. The board that shows you the gate numbers was to capacity. When I was on the American Airlines website looking for my flight, they had flights all day long. And so I don't know. I don't know. I just know that I didn't feel safe in the airport or on the airplane because it was just entirely too many people. But anyway, topics of disputes include unemployment insurance. Democrats have proposed $600 per week in extra benefits, while the White House has supported $400 weekly. And relief for states and municipalities, Democrats have offered more than $400 billion, higher than the $250 billion proposed by the White House. The sides have also disagreed on the child tax credit, earned income tax credit, child care assistance funds, and money for COVID-19 testing and tracing. Now, I don't know why they're trying to mess with the tax credits and the earned income tax credit. They will leave that alone. And so the Democrat-held House left for the month on Friday, but could return to pass legislation if Pelosi and Mnuchin can craft an agreement. The full Senate will not convene until October 19th. After 3 GOP senators, 2 of them attended last weekend's White House event announcing the nomination of Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court. tested positive for COVID-19. The Republican-led Senate Judiciary Committee will still forge ahead with this hearing on Barrett nomination set for October 12th. So I think that they're going to push this whole stimulus packet all the way down to November 2nd. Like, we might get them checks on November 2nd. In this other article that I read, they said that they definitely want to try and get the stimulus payments out before the end of the year. It says if you're one of the millions of Americans struggling financially through the coronavirus pandemic, it was another frustrating week. Republicans and Democrats continue to say they know the country needs a second stimulus package to make ends meet and keep the economy running smoothly throughout year's end. Republicans and Democrats also continue to not be able to find enough in common to make an agreement happen and get the money into the bank accounts of Americans. So guys, that's the update on the stimulus check. If you've been wondering where it's at, if it's coming, they are still haggling over this money. I think if both sides take everything out of the stimulus packet that has nothing to do with coronavirus and make that package a separate thing from this other money that they're trying to push through, that they can easily come to an agreement and everything will be okay. And then one other thing that is in the package is that student loan payments were delayed. No interest, no payments due until September 30th, and then they expanded that. Trump expanded that, I think, with an executive order, pushing it out to January 1st. So January 1st, the student loan payments will pick back up, and the interest, they will start bearing interest again. And then on the unemployment checks, Trump did pass an executive order for $400 a week, $300 the government was going to pay for, and then the other $100 the state had to pay for. And then people told him that he didn't have the authority to make decisions about how budget money is spent. So then he did a workaround where he said that the money would come from FEMA. And you guys know FEMA is the organization that comes in and helps cities rebuild after hurricanes and other natural disasters. So I don't know why he was trying to take money from that in the heart of hurricane season. And so FEMA did, states that applied for the money, they did get the money. It wasn't all states. It was only maybe about 20 states that applied, but the money ran out after about 3 or 4 weeks. And so even though people got checks that went back to July 26th, it only paid for 3 weeks. And so by the time that they caught up with, like around August 20th, all that money was gone. And so people still haven't received that money or extra unemployment. And I know here in Florida, the maximum you can get is like $275. And that's if you have a job. But for gig workers and self-employed people, their money was just cut off. They don't get anything anymore. And so, the government needs to look out for us, and they need to do the right thing. So that's it for me. Leave your comments below, rate the video, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And remember to turn on the notifications so that you can be notified when content that you're interested in is posted, and you can be the first one to see it. So until the next time, I shall talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.